We're talking Texas, Florida with the host of Locked On Gators coming up next. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a crossover edition of Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns. I am Brandon Olsen. This is Brad Kellner. And if you're listening to this on Thursday, hopefully you are, or maybe you're listening to it Friday, whenever it is, this is a crossover for the first SEC matchup for Locked On Longhorns for the Texas Longhorns. Second for Florida 0-1 in the conference. Fun stuff on our side of things. This episode of Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And Brad, we spent a lot of this offseason, I think, expecting this to be a juggernaut battle at quarterback. On Locked On Gators on Tuesday, I was like, we expected this to be, I don't know if you were ever into wrestling in your life, but I was like, this was supposed to be Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Rock, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Not at all. Not even a little bit. What is your take on what was supposed to be a battle of the superstars and just isn't looking like that right now?
Yeah, 2 5-star quarterbacks, right? 2 guys who are their top-ranked quarterbacks in their respective recruiting classes. Arch Manning in 2023, DJ Lagway in 2024, and it's been a bit of a struggle for both of them. It's kind of tough to really figure out what Arch Manning is, right? His one game that he played against a Power 4 opponent did not go well. It was Texas's season-opening loss at Ohio State, and Arch looked overwhelmed, and it looked like the atmosphere and environment was too much for him, and Texas lost that game 14-7. Now, the last 3 weeks, we've seen a lot more good from Arch Manning, and Texas is 3-0 in that time, but they've played San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston. So it's the first time since August that we're going to see the Longhorns play a Power 4 team, and obviously Arch's first opportunity to show what he could do against a very good Florida defense. And then, DJ Lagway, it's one of the biggest disappointments in college football this year. I mean, Florida has been one of the biggest disappointments as a team, if not the biggest disappointment as a team. Your audience probably thinks they're at the top of that list. But yeah, it's obviously been a struggle for Lagway. That LSU game was rough. It didn't get much better against Miami. So we'll see. Obviously, both teams have had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Maybe the offenses have found some things. Maybe the quarterbacks have found some things. But you talked about it, Brandon. All off season long, I think everybody on both sides of this matchup had this date marked down as what could have been one of the best quarterback matchups in the country this year. And there's a lot less steam going into this game as there was, a month or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into this year, everyone was like, oh, this is going to be, the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft and the potential first overall pick in the 2027 NFL draft. And now, well, no, just not at all. What is it about Texas's offense? Because, of course, I think with me, one of the difficulties when talking about Texas's offense is that, it looked great against San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston State. And it looked like cleaner football. But the only Power 4 opponent faced is Ohio State, and that makes it a little difficult to really evaluate because that was also week 1. That was also facing an elite defense. Like that, it's not just that you faced a Power 4 team; it's that you faced an elite defense there. Right. And this offense just hasn't looked like what I think most people thought of when talking about this Texas offense, which also I think it was fair to expect Texas to be more of a defense-oriented team this year than in years prior, just because, I mean, let's call it what it is. You were stacked last year, still stacked this year. What is it about this Texas offense that kind of took a little bit to get back on track and has now seemed to find their footing?
I will say this, Texas's offense wasn't great in weeks 2 or 3, right? I mean, they beat San Jose State 38-7. They scored 28 of their 38 points in a 5-minute stretch where Texas had 4 takeaways on defense and the Longhorn offense was just able to turn those into a bunch of quick touchdowns. But outside of that stretch, it wasn't a great offensive showing against San Jose State. And then in week 3 against UTEP, a pretty bad UTEP team, Texas only scored 27 for the entire game. And Arch Manning had a stretch in that game where he had 10 straight incomplete passes, and he kind of looked lost. So it really was, week 4, the most recent game the Longhorns have played, when they beat Sam Houston 55-0, that was the first time all year where we've really seen this offense look really good. Now, Sam Houston's one of the worst defenses and maybe one of the worst teams in all of FBS. So good news is you win 55-0. You score on your first 9 possessions of the game. Texas scored on every drive where Arch Manning was on the field. So that's everything the Longhorns kind of wanted and needed to see against the Bearcats they saw. But obviously now you're on the road. You're going up against a much better Florida defense. So yeah, the offense, I don't think it was as simple as like they turned it around instantly after Ohio State. They were still kind of finding their own way in weeks 2 and 3. The question is, did they really find something against Sam Houston, or is Sam Houston just that bad to where anybody could have done that type of thing against them?
Is there any, I don't want to say fear. I feel like fear is an awful word, but it's the word I'm going to use, even though I acknowledge it's not the right word. Is there any kind of fear against saying, hey, this is Texas's first time going back on the road since Ohio State, Texas's first time facing a Power 4 opponent since Ohio State? What if this offense does take kind of those steps back now that, again, it's a Power 4 defense, a good Power 4 defense, and on the road? And I know that a lot of people are talking about Florida's fan base maybe checking out. They're still going to sell that damn stadium out every single, like they're going to do that every week. So is there any fear of kind of regressing? Not to, 7 points again, but just to regressing back to not great, Bob?
Yeah, I think so. I think for a lot of Texas fans, the jury's kind of still out on Arch Manning and whether or not he's ready to be the guy this year, to lead Texas back to the SEC title game, to lead Texas back to the college football playoff semifinal for the 3rd straight year. There's still a lot of folks who are just kind of waiting to see him do it against a really good team. So I think there's some fear there. And I've been trying to tell Longhorn fans all week, look at what Garrett Nussmeier did against the Florida defense. Look at what Carson Beck, who's one of the Heisman favorites right now, according to our friends at FanDuel, look at what he did against the Florida defense. If you're expecting Arch Manning to do what he did against Sam Houston this weekend in the Swamp, you're going to have a bad time. So, he's the guy that everyone's most focused on. His last name's Manning. He's the 5-star. That goes without saying. But I think there is some fear that there will be a little bit of a regression for Arch Manning. I think it's natural, again, based on the opponent. But yeah, the one time we've seen Texas play against a Power 4 defense, things did not go well. So there are questions about this Texas running game. Now, the good news for the Horns, they're going to get their 2 top running backs back in this game. A couple of guys in Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter who have missed the last couple of games for Texas. Hopefully help at wide receiver is coming with Emmett Mosley V, the Stanford transfer. He's expected to make his Longhorn debut this week. Having the bye allows Texas to get some guys back. Obviously, the same is true for Florida. But the run game has been inconsistent at times. Texas ranks in the 120s in the country in penalty yards per game. So they've lacked some discipline. The offensive line has been inconsistent. The receivers at times haven't been there. So there is a little bit of what really is this offense? Again, like you said, I don't know if fear is the right word, but there's still some wait and see. Is our offense, are we really good, or are we going to have to win a bunch of games, 20-17 if we are going to make it back to the playoff? Which
also, as long as you're winning, who cares really? If you're winning games, who cares? I can talk about this Florida Gators defense and go, oh yeah, they've been balling, but at a certain point, if the offense doesn't pick up,
I was going to ask you, Brandon. I mean, what's the confidence level in this Florida offense? Is there any confidence with this Gator offense right now?
I don't have much of any. And look, I think that a lot of it was, DJ Lagway was banged up the entire spring, most of fall camp, and wasn't really practicing, wasn't really working. He needs to develop. He needs to do this. Until I see it, because I don't care that Billy Napier is going in press conferences and going, oh yeah, DJ Lagway is moving he's got a look in his eye in practice this week. I don't care that after the Miami loss, DJ Lagway was like, oh, I guarantee I'm going to be better. I guarantee that I'm going to hold people more accountable. You know why I don't care about that? Because he said the same thing after the loss to USF. I don't care that you're telling me these things. I need to go and see you do it, because you said that after USF, you're like, I need to be better. I need to play better. And then you threw 5 picks against LSU. Then congratulations, didn't throw a pick against Miami. Good job. Offense still did nothing outside of one drive to open the third quarter. Up until that drive in the third quarter, I was like, oh man, if Miami's the team that ends Florida's streak of not being shut out, we're never going to hear the end of it. Like that's a genuine risk until DJ Lagway picks up to play DJ Lagway football, because my main thing all offseason was, and I was saying this during the season last year, the offense wasn't sustainable with DJ Lagway playing the way he was playing last year. It was deep shot or run game. Nothing underneath was working. Now we're seeing defenses go, okay, it's deep shot or run game and nothing else is working, so we're going to take away the deep shot. Yeah. And you're kind of like, the boxing analogy is like, oh, well, you got to have a punch there, counter punch, and then you got to be able to, and Florida hasn't been able to do that at all. DJ Lagway hasn't played well. I don't care what anyone tells me. I don't care that it's like, oh yeah, he's looking good in practice. He had a good week in practice. He hasn't looked good on a Saturday since last year. Even the Long Island game, I was like, look, he's not looking great. Like, he's missing what should be there. He hasn't looked good on a Saturday since last year. I don't care about what he looks like Monday through Thursday. Monday through Thursday isn't when you win games, right? Like that. It's as simple as that. So for me, a lot of it just comes down to, I think that there's talent throughout this entire roster, but the two parts that are maybe the most important, or not even maybe, the two parts that are the most important are your head coach and your quarterback, and both those guys have failed you for 3 weeks in a row now. It doesn't matter what you tell me if those two guys, like your offensive line has been playing awesome. You could start playing great. If your quarterback can't complete passes, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just as simple as that. So as far as confidence for this offense, I'm in the negatives at this point. I am in the negatives. I just need to see it. Like, I do think they could turn it around. Yeah. But I was also a Florida Gators fan. I've been a Florida Gators fan my whole life. I was a fan during the Will Muschamp days when I was like, oh, if this offense does anything, this defense will help them. And the offense didn't do anything. So until I see it happen, I'm not going to make a fool of myself and say that it's going to turn it around. It's honestly as simple as that. And I think that after the Ohio State game, I think a lot of non-Texas fans, I can't speak for Texas fans, but I know that a lot of non-Texas fans went, Arch isn't it until I see him do it, yeah, I'm going to think he's not it. And I think that that's where myself and a lot of Florida Gators fans are at with Florida. And I'm not giving up on DJ Lagway. I still think he's fixable, but you keep developing some bad habits and not so fixable, in my opinion. And it's a brutal spot to be in, but yeah, that's what football is, right? Like until you prove me wrong, I'm going to have my doubts about you. And going into this game, great Texas defense. We will talk about that defense, and Florida's defense has been balling as well. We'll talk about that when we get back in just a minute with Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. So that's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I don't care if you want to bet on Florida money line. Don't do that for your free bet. Just don't do that. I don't care if you want to bet on Texas money line. The under in this game might look pretty good. Whatever it is you want to bet on, go ahead. But if you do, and that bet hits, you get $300 in bonus bets. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today now, and get started. And this episode of Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns is also brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that they make the neighborhood, right? Like I've use this analogy every time. I'm born and raised in New York City. I go to the bodega that I was growing up at when I was a kid, or growing up near when I was a kid. And then I grew up and they're like, oh my God, you've gotten so much older. It's like, yeah, that's the neighborhood. Like that's what it is. They make the neighborhood. I remember when they only took cash and then they started taking card and they started using Square there. Those are the places that become an extension of home. So whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings for game day, which honestly should be the same thing as a sports bar for your team's fan base, those should overlap. You got to get good wings at a good bar, right? Or that beloved local chain that's been the root of your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Really, Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. So you can go to square.com/go/lockdowncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators or Locked On Longhorns your first listen of the day. I don't know why I said Longhorns, your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free, wherever in the podcast and on YouTube. And Brad, going into this game, what is your biggest matchup where you go, hey, if Texas wins this area, I feel pretty confident they're going to win the game?
Yeah, I think if Texas is able to run the ball consistently against Florida, they're going to win. Again, we brought up, what Garrett Nussmeier did against this Florida defense. We brought up what Carson Beck did against this Florida defense. I think the Florida secondary is the strength of their football team, right? I love Cormani McClain. Obviously, Florida runs that too high safety look where they're trying to not get beat over the top. So they're almost daring opposing teams to run. Texas has kind of struggled with some shell coverages so far this season. They honestly struggled with those looks some last year as well. So can Texas run the ball against maybe a lighter box and force Florida to drop an extra defender or two in the box to open things up through the passing game? That, I think, is a big key. You look at what Miami was able to do in the fourth quarter where they kind of ran their way to a victory. Obviously, what Caden Durham and LSU had that 51-yard run late in the game to sort of put that one on ice. So you've got to be consistent with the run game, but also you have to be good to be consistent. You can't just be running it for, 2 to 3 yards a carry every time you hand it off. I think this is a Texas run game. If Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter and the Texas offensive line are able to get theirs against Florida's defensive front, then I think Texas's chances of winning this game go up significantly. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I think that first off, that's going to be a hell of a matchup. I just want to throw that out there. Like Florida's linebackers have been balling this year. I think that for me, it's also in the trenches, but it's just Texas's D-line versus Florida's O-line. Like Florida's offensive line, I know that they've been getting a lot of criticism this whole season. For me, the Miami game was their first true failure in pass protection, as far as actually engaging with defenders and losing. I think you look at the LSU game, and the issue is communication-wise. LSU had off-ball blitzers coming in completely untouched, completely unchecked, and that just led to hell. But you look at when Florida's offensive line got hands on people, they weren't getting into the backfield. I think that Florida's offensive line was looked at as a strength of this team so far, or was looked at as a strength of this team going into this year. We heard PFF go, yeah, Florida's got a top 3 offensive line in the nation. You're returning, because on paper, that was right. Like on paper, you had an All-American center, a potential first-round pick at offensive tackle, which I disagree with, but they were saying it, so I'll let them say it. You had 4 of your 5 starters returning, and your 1 starter that wasn't returning was going to be replaced by someone that was on the team last year. So you had chemistry should have been there. Instead, it hasn't been there, and people can point to Florida running back Jaden Baugh averaging almost 6 yards a carry right now. 4 of those are coming after contact every time. Like that's what it's doing. He's picking up these yards on his own. That's where they're coming from. Yeah. Florida's averaging 4.7 yards per carry, but with the PFF numbers that don't account for sacks, 3.5 of those are coming after contact. Like Florida's offensive line in the run game has been getting no push, and you need to get push. And also you're facing one hell of a defensive front. You got to protect DJ Lagway. Like he's been bad when he's not pressured. He's been awful when he has been pressured. Like you got to keep him clean, or otherwise going to get ugly.
Yeah. I mean, everyone focuses on the quarterbacks and all the skill position players, but this game's going to come down to who wins in the trenches, right? And the Texas offensive line has struggled too, kind of different from Florida because Texas has 4 new starters on the offensive line, so they're breaking in a lot of new faces. And the good news, the Longhorn O-line played pretty well at Ohio State, which was kind of surprising considering how good Ohio State is. But the last 3 weeks, it feels like they've kind of gone downhill. So not sure what to expect from the Texas offensive line. But yeah, they need to be good against Florida. And then, like you said, you flip the script. Texas has the 4th best rushing defense in the country right now in terms of yards per game allowed. Their defensive front has been amazing. The Longhorns went out. Every Texas fan knows this. I don't know if any Florida fan knows this. Texas got 5 defensive linemen from the portal this offseason. So they made it a point of emphasis. Like their run defense was elite last year. They lost a lot of guys to the league. They wanted to make sure that they were going to be elite in that category again this year. They gave obviously a ton of NIL resources to make that happen. And like you said, Brandon, the D-line and the linebackers have been really, really good. So yeah, Florida's offensive line plays the way that it did against Miami, then it could be another long day for y'all offensively.
Oh, especially if play calling is the same way it was against Miami. They're going to, jokingly off air, I was like, this game could end 3-2. And it's like, if Florida's offensive line and offensive play calling is the same way they were against Miami, yikes. It's going to be really brutal. And look, Billy Napier even mentioned that he's like, yeah, Texas, 5 defensive linemen, 5 interior defensive linemen they got in the portal. Like, but everybody that they're bringing back, pretty damn good. Like their secondary good, or their secondary roster retention was good, and the talent's obviously there. It's Texas. You're always going to be able to get guys, I think, in the edge room at linebacker and in the secondary. Like, no one doubts that Texas and Florida really are historically 2 of the best states in terms of producing talent, especially per capita. Like, this is, if you're looking at homegrown guys,
sure,
it's going to be an awesome view of looking at what players from Florida and players from Texas will do against each other in this game, which was the same case last year, except hopefully it'll go at least a little bit different. Hopefully it'll go at least a little bit different. I'll be just a miserable SOB if it goes the same way. But I do think that looking at that, and also I'm really interested in looking at how Florida's defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts, handles his Texas offense. Last year, Ron Roberts wasn't the play caller the entire time. He kind of took that, or at least took a bigger hand in it, and gave Austin Armstrong less of a hand. Austin Armstrong, now defensive coordinator at Houston, but he kind of took over this defense. As a first year where you've got Florida having the same defensive play caller back-to-back years toward the end of the season, and then this whole season, Ron Roberts has been putting on a clinic. Like, Florida hasn't been generating a pass rush. We've been talking about that all year, where it's like, yeah, you didn't generate a pass rush against basically anybody, but your defense has still been playing really well. And a big part of that is just those disguised coverages that Ron Roberts is going to break. You know, he's the godfather of the defense is what they call him. He introduced, I don't know how into scheme anybody watching this is, but Ron Roberts, a big guy that introduced sim pressures and creepers into just modern football. It's going to be fun to watch Arch Manning go up against that defense that's going to be giving you different looks. And Carson Beck was playing lights out football up until he played Florida. And then not so much once he started seeing defenses that are going to throw a whole bunch at you. Yeah. I'm interested to see how Arch Manning handles that.
Yeah, that's well said, right? Both quarterbacks going up against a couple of really good defenses. And again, you know, with DJ Lagway, we've seen enough bad to where I think more people are expecting bad this Saturday. But with Arch Manning, it's, you know, it was one bad game. Like you said, a lot of people jumped ship nationally after that game. But it's been more than a month since that Ohio State game went down. So has he figured some things out? Has he gotten more comfortable and confident with this Texas offense? And is he going to be able to navigate, a well-coordinated, well-coached, and a really talented defense? I mean, you also wonder, Brandon, and I know we'll get to our predictions in the next segment, but, like, could a defensive score decide this game? Right? I think both teams are going to struggle to move the ball and put up points offensively. So is the winner of this game the team that gets a pick six or a scoop and score? I think both defenses are capable of doing it. I think both quarterbacks maybe are capable of throwing that costly pick. So, we're talking about trying to find points on offense. Whoever finds points on defense or special teams may end up being the victor here.
I'm glad you added special teams at the end. I was going to say, Vernell Brown has had a few returns where it's like one block away, making one more man miss. And we will get to our predictions in just a minute when we get back with Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move, right? Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Maybe some people on coaching staffs don't do that. Now, don't worry, Brad, not talk about your guys. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every mile. Hey, they coach better. I'll stop taking shots. It's as simple as that. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes simply irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And college football is back. We're in the swing of things. We've passed the whole, hey, you're going to play an FCS team and then a bunch of group of 5 teams. Now we're into SEC play now. And wherever you're listening from, you can probably catch a college football game near you. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, no matter what your record is, tailgates, fun as hell. Rivalries, throw everything else out the window. Like, things can get weird, things can get fun. There's nothing like college football. It's the greatest experience. Been to a lot of NFL games, a lot of college games. College just destroys it. There's no other way to put it. And when you're trying to actually get tickets, you can do that on Game Time. No more endless queues, no more hidden fees, no more prices jumping at checkout for no reason whatsoever. I use Game Time for college football. I went to 5 concerts last year using Game Time. I went to a couple Broadway shows using Game Time. It's beautiful. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees, so that what you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off at your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators and Locked On Longhorns, I am Brandon Olsen. This is Brad Kellner with me, and we are going to give our predictions for this game that I feel like a lot of Florida Gators fans are trying to talk themselves into, right? And I've tried to talk myself into it as well. And I hate doing this, but like I'm picking Texas to win. I will say, I think that a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, Texas is going to dominate this game, run away with it. I don't think so. I look at this game and I say, hey, this is 2 offenses that when they've faced Power 4 competition haven't done anything. And look, obviously in Texas's defense, with Texas's regard, there's been one Power 4 opponent, and it was Ohio State. Like it's not like it was only a one Power 4 opponent, Northwestern, and they did nothing. Like it was Ohio State on the road, first game of the season where things really don't matter. Like there's no true indicator in the first, or games matter, but there's no true indicator for this is what the season's going to be in week 1. That's just not the case. I view it as 2 teams that haven't done anything offensively against Power 4 opponents. Again, much smaller sample size for Texas. 2 defenses that have been playing lights out against anybody that they've faced. Things could get weird. I'm not saying Florida can't win. I am picking Texas to win this game, though, overall. As much as it pains me to say, it's just how I feel about the game, Brad.
Let me ask you this. I know I'm asking you a loaded question and we're short on time, Brandon, but we saw what happened to Arkansas last week. Like they got absolutely blown out at home, and then the next day Sam Pittman gets fired. Is there a portion of the Gator fan base that is, I don't know if they want 56-13, but like hoping that maybe Texas rolls into the swamp and beats Florida so bad that it's the final nail in the coffin for Billy Napier?
There's absolutely a fan base, a section of the fan base thinking that. My take is that I will never in my life root for Florida to lose. They will lose regardless of if I want them to win or lose. Like that. That's how it is, right? They're going to win games. They're going to lose games. I'm going to want them to win every single one, and they lose. So I don't necessarily care about saying, oh yeah, I hope they lose this game. I will also say, I don't know, unless it's an absolute like 50-point loss.
No.
I don't think Florida would get rid of him after the Texas game. I think that there's multiple factors going into this, including, red shirt roster retention, keeping guys from opting out. Part of it's, the buyout. And I've said this before. I think Scott Strickland is giving Billy Napier every single chance to turn things around. Florida is not, just want to make this clear, Florida's not having the same kind of turnaround they had last year. But mathematically, Florida is not out of college football playoff or SEC championship game contention. Again, it's not happening, but mathematically they're not out of it. I do think Scott Strickland might be saying, hey, I'm going to wait until they're mathematically out of it, until it's mathematically impossible. So I can truly say I'm giving him every opportunity to turn this around. And I do think that that's a genuine possibility with this, which is why I don't think he'll get fired, even if they lose this game, unless it's an absolute drubbing.
Yeah, well, I think Texas will help with that mathematical probability. I like the Longhorns 24-13. I think it's a pretty low-scoring game, but I think Texas wins, and I think Texas covers. We were talking before the show. I'll go quick. I felt confident about this game in the offseason. Like, I was at the Texas-Florida game in Austin last year. I know Lagway was out. I know Florida was banged up in the secondary, but it just felt like the talent gap between the two teams was just too big. And I think Texas has the advantage everywhere. Am I sold on Arch? No, but I think he's better than Lagway. I know Sark is the better coach. I know Texas has the better defense. I think Texas has the better running game, although Jaden Ball's a stud, so that's close. But the only thing Florida has going for them is that this game is at Florida. And I don't think that's enough. So I like the Longhorns. Not a total blowout, but by double digits on Saturday afternoon.
I'm going to let you know this now. I'm going to take heat for you saying that. because there's going to be a bunch of Florida fans that are in the comments like, you let them say that. And it's like, what am I going to say is wrong? Like, what am I going to just mute your mic while you're saying it? I can't say. Like, yeah, I think Florida's defense has been playing great. I think that people will make the argument that statistically these defenses, Texas is, I believe, 1 and Florida is not. And people are going to say, okay, well, statistically Florida played better competition. Sure.
Yeah.
You could say that. You could disagree, but I can't tell you you're wrong for saying it. I think everybody thought Texas was going to be, again, a top defense in the country. Florida also, important to note, no Caleb Banks. At the time of recording this, we don't know about George Gumm's status for this game. I think he'll hopefully be back, but we don't know that definitively. Injuries happen. Florida's been dealing with quite a few this season. Even if guys are back, they're not going to be 100% healthy. But yeah, and I thank you, because I know I'm going to get the Florida fans that are mad at me for that. So appreciate it.
You're welcome, Brandon. Hey, we're playing each other next year. We're playing each other next year too, so we could get this again next year, right?
Great first crossover. Appreciate that. You really made a great first impression there.
Hey, y'all got us in basketball, so you could have your fun at my expense when we get to college hoop season for sure.
Oh, I will. Don't worry about that one at all. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. For Locked On Longhorns, this is Brad Kellner. This is a Locked On crossover edition of both of those shows. Catch us every day, wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. This is Locked On, your team every day.